My name is Megan. I'm a librarian at the Clinton-Macomb Public Library. This video goes with a program that we are hosting on July 14th, 2020 about making flower combs as a hair accessory. If you are signed up for the library program, you'll receive several of these materials at the library, but if you want to just make it on your own, I will show you how to do that too. To get an idea of what the finished product looks like, here are a couple examples of a comb that you could wear in your hair as a decoration. So if you are making this at the library, you'll get several of these things, but some things that you have at home that you might also want to have on hand are glue, wire cutters, scissors, and I have a pair of hemostats, but tweezers would also work. This might be useful when we're doing some of the more fine work of putting them together. So if you have these things, that's great, but they're not completely necessary. If you are making this with the library, you will get in your packet a comb, so a hair comb, a bit of wire. We're using, I have floral gardening wire, and I also have a little bit of jewelry wire. You can also do this just using a needle and thread. So the way you attach them is up to you, but we are using gardening wire, like comes on a roll like this. And then flowers. And the flowers that I am using, I just bought at Michael's. They look like this. But before we're using them, I'm going to disassemble them. So if this is a project that you wanted to do on your own and you had bought some floral stems, the first thing that you would want to do is take these stems apart, because we don't necessarily want a whole big stem on there. We just want the flower parts. As you can see on some of the examples, the flowers sit very flush to the comb. So the stem would kind of make them go off to the side. So we're going to disassemble the stems. This just means kind of pulling the flowers off. You can see they just kind of pop off. It also means pulling the greenery. The greenery, I think, makes a nice addition, so those pieces just pop right off too. And then instead of cutting this, you've got just the leaves that you can attach to use in your comb. Okay, so I've spent some time, and the layout I have decided on is something like this. And now our next step is going to be to use the wire to attach the leaves and flower to the comb itself. So I'm going to start with the, I guess, like the bottom layer. So I'm going to start with this leaf. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail on the end because I'm going to want to wrap that underneath. The end of the wire is kind of sharp and pointy, so you'll want to be careful of that. I'm going to skip going around this leaf because I don't want to squish it up. So I'm just going to go around the center leaf again, and I'm just using this wire to wrap it around. And that's what the back looks like. Okay, so that's around a couple times. I'm ready for my next layer, which would be these little succulent leaves. So I'm gonna, got my wire in the back. I'm kind of threading it through the different pieces. going through the teeth combs of the teeth of the comb. So this is what it looks like so far. Now I'm ready for my flower. And I want the flower to sit in the middle of these leaves. I want it to sit up above the comb a little bit. So that's where I'm going to place it. And I'm not going to draw the wire too close. I'm going to let it sit on top. So I'm going to go inside this plastic part on the back of the flower. And I'm not going to go all the way around. I'm just going to go from one side to the other and then draw back up through the comb again. Now looking at the front, I'm thinking, where do I want this to lay? Do I want this to come up a little more, or do I want it to kind of hang down? And the reason I'm asking is, do I want to go through this stem with the wire again to make it sit up a little more? And I think I do. So I'm going to take the wire and draw that stem so that it sits up. This is the back. Here is the front. Pull that. And there's this additional little succulent piece that wasn't sitting quite right, so I'm going to see if I can attach that too. I had cut it off, but I'm going to slide it into the back here. If I like that, maybe I want it underneath. Yeah. So it's in the spot where I want it, and now I'm going to use the wire to go around the stem to secure it to the comb itself. There we go. Okay. So now my comb is looking something like this. Each piece has been gone around at least once. I've got different sections of this initial green leaf stem that I've gone around. I've gone around the succulent plants, and I've gone around the flower itself. I have a fair amount of wire left, so I'm just going to see if there's anything else I want to try to secure. Maybe the flower, since I only went around that once. I'm going to go around the bottom portion this time. Come up. I'm going to use my wire cutters to cut off the excess wire. And then I'm going to use my hemostats, or if you have tweezers, now would be a good time to get right into where the end of the wire is and fold that down, preferably a couple times, because it can be kind of sharp and you don't want it to poke you in the head. I'm going to go around, and then I'm going to fold that back in on itself. There we go. I'm going to go back to the beginning where I left this sort of tail as well. And you can see that the flower is sort of not covering all of the stem. So I'm gonna undo this just a little bit. I'm gonna just cut off this large part at the end that I don't like. There's no wire in there, so I don't need the wire cutters, just scissors. And then I'm going to come back around. See, it's not too visible now. And I'm going to put this extra wire that's here on the back. I'm going to do the same thing, just kind of hide it in the back here and use my hemostats to fold it in on itself, or your tweezers. So that it doesn't poke you in the head. Back through one more time. Okay. Let's see. There we go. This one, I want to come that way a little bit. Just sort of looking at how it's laying. I'm going to look at it this way. Here's the back. And you can see that the end of the flower is really above the comb. And now anything that is just not quite perfect, like this, I don't like how this is down here. I'd rather have it be up here. This is when I'm going to use my glue to just make fine adjustments. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my glue in the middle of the flower. Since I cut off that stem, I want to put some glue in there to make sure the flower itself doesn't come apart. Squeeze some glue right on the end there. If you have hot glue, that works too. And then everything else I pretty much liked. The only thing I didn't like was this, and so I'm just going to glue this leaf down here a little further up. So I'm going to dab some glue on the underside of the flower. And get that stem out of the way. Hold it up there until it's set so that it doesn't flop down, stays up the way that I want it to. And then you're ready to model your hair comb. When the gluing is complete, you are ready to wear your comb. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't say that this project was inspired by a DIY that was featured at Design Sponge that used real flowers. We're using fake so that we get a little bit more use out of it. If you are trying this project on your own, here are some tips. I like to use the wire because it's very easy to take apart if I don't like it. So if I'm in the middle of making it, I can hold it up to my head how I think I'm going to wear it, and if I don't like it, I can take it apart. But if it's giving you trouble, you can absolutely use glue or hot glue to secure the flowers to your comb. You're just going to then kind of be stuck with how they are. But hot glue absolutely works. The other thing is hold it up to your head while you're making it so that you can see how it's going to lay and see if you like it or not. I think that's it. Again, enjoy.